This week we're joined by Jamie McDonald, otherwise known as Adventureman.
He's run across countries, cycled across continents, and broken many endurance world records, often dressed as a superhero.
But behind the cape is an incredible story about mindset and belief, and pushing the human body and brain far beyond what most of us think is possible.
Jamie's journey is proof that grit, humour and heart can take you a very long way.
I'm James Potter,
I'm Ian Anson.
and this is Virtual Lunch.
Jamie, Adventureman. Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Thanks for coming down and doing our world-defining, beating podcast. We're coming for you, Stephen Bartlett. What are you up to?
Well, we just heard James do a bit of singing. Come on, James, give us a little bit of an intro into this whole thing.
I can't really. I mean, obviously I'm protected by legal privilege when it comes to singing. Obviously, you know, because of all of my record contracts. So I wouldn't normally do it, but it's a bit awkward.
All right. Save us for later.
Jay, maybe to start, could you just give everyone a little bit of a flavour of becoming Adventureman, I guess? So tell us about, who you are, what you do, what you've been up to, and I guess a good little bit of background around what made you what you are today.
But also, more importantly, though, hang on a second, we missed a big point here. You've travelled quite a way to get here today, haven't you?
I am from Gloucester. I'm a Gloucester born and bred. My name's Jamie McDonald, but you can't tell anyone. Obviously, I'm Adventureman. I move and I cycle.
You're
and I run
Adventureman?
everywhere. Yeah, I'm Adventureman.
I heard that rumour.
Yeah. But you can't tell anyone. I took the train, all right? But don't tell anyone. I ran here, okay, from Gloucester, a couple 100 miles, no big deal. But, right, so I felt like there's what I want to go into today. I had an experience last night as I landed into Shoreditch. Saw a curry house, right? And I went in, looked at the menu, right? And you go, okay, what do I want? And everyone goes for their favourite one, right? It's just natural. I like that curry, you know. But in the end, I thought, no, let's go for a jalfrezi. Never had one. And it said really hot. And I thought, no, come on. So I said, right, give me the jalfrezi. Sure enough, spoon the curry into my mouth. Goes on fire. Didn't even taste the curry. Didn't taste it. Just pure fire. Start to sweat. I can see the staff now staring at me. Right, and I'm going, I'm in trouble.
They're like, what have we done? What have we done?
I'm in serious trouble, right? But then I goes, okay, well, let's give myself a good talking to here. Because I could just say, no, I need to change the curry. Or you start to persist, right? So I started to carry on eating. It was tough. It was really tough. I got myself a Kingfisher beer just to swill it down. But then, right, this is where the magic really happens once you start to push through the uncomfortable experience, is that about 15, 20 minutes later, I actually started to taste the curry. Right?
Wow.
Not a bad curry. And then, as I come right out of it, I'm like an hour in now, I'm going, this is one of the best curries I've ever had.
Well, it's obviously the biggest curry as well, if you're still eating it after an hour.
I milked it, right? I'm like, I'm away for the kids for the night, let's enjoy this moment. So then I leave. Now I am skipping on air as I leave the curry house. So I've gone from pain.
It was a bad curry, was it?
No. This is a serious message here, James. Right?
Sorry, this is about resilience,
this
isn't
is
it?
Right.
Yeah.
I've gone from pain, pure and utter pain, to just joyful, ecstatic, and wow, what an experience that was.
And that presumably is one of the only times you've ever experienced discomfort in your life. Because you're not really known for that, are you? Could you just tell us a little bit about your experiences earlier in life and what it taught you about discomfort, pushing through, and how it made you who you are today?
Yeah, good question. So I was born into an incubator, and I share that because I think every experience from the moment we're born makes us who we are. So I was born with like an autoimmune deficiency and a condition that we didn't know at the time, but shringamyelia. So I was really, really sick. So I would have epileptic fits. Sometimes I couldn't move my legs. So I spent most of my childhood in a children's hospital in Gloucester. So in and out, and sometimes I would have bouts where I'm well, but most of the time not. So I missed a lot of school, and I just know weirdly I'm trying to share it from a perspective that I always said that I ended up having a great time in hospital, but actually what I'd done is I built up a storyline to mask true pain, and I only discovered that probably six years ago when I went into therapy, and it kind of evolved where the thing that really got me in a children's hospital is that I was left for long periods of time. So my parents couldn't be around, because we've got a brother. They had to look after him, financial pressures, they had to work. So this undercurrent feeling of abandonment is really strong. And so it was a very challenging time in hospital. I can now speak the truth of it, of how I experienced it. But that dark experience is actually what's made me who I am today. Right? And obviously with these experiences, it can break you and you can turn to drink, drugs, or you can turn it into your motivator and your true purpose. But I got lucky. Anyway, when I was about 9 years old, I started to move, right? You know when you throw a ball for a dog and it's like, I've just got to go, right? I've got to go. I look like, let me go. And I was like that for a whole year. I got loads of help from the doctors and nurses. And then all my symptoms just gradually disappeared and I managed to get my health. So I'm really lucky, right? And I treasure that, as in I'm lucky, because I should have ended up in a wheelchair or even worse. And then at 16, I wanted to be like the next big, right, Tim Henman or Roger Federer.
You look a bit like Tim Henman, actually.
Do I? Yeah, God, that's the best thing you could ever say. I love old Tim. And so my parents were really supportive, right? They'd done great parenting because they just let me work it out all by myself when I was 16. That I worked out that I was absolutely shit at tennis.
Flawed career choice.
And so then naturally I had to get a job, right? So I started to stack fruit and veg in Asda,
But really fast.
Yeah, I was good. Hey, listen, I was the best fruit and veg stacker there was. The potatoes, stick me on the potatoes and they were done. And then I was a lifeguard. I know you were a lifeguard,
Yeah.
James, back in the day.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Best time ever. Working over there. We were quite lucky where I lived. We had an outdoor swimming pool as well, so it was great for the tan, and always felt good doing
Save
that.
any lives?
Yeah, a couple actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
couple.
I always thought that was a spray on as well.
So just managed to save up £20,000 doing pretty jobs that were just getting by, right? I was existing, and then I saved up £20,000. This is the moment where you go,
Ooh.
That's a lot of money all those years ago.
It's a lot of money, right? And then I went to sign the papers, and then I just got this gut feeling in my stomach where I just felt like something's not right. When you get that gut feeling.
So what was you going to do with the £20,000?
Buy this house.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I went to sign the papers to buy this house. And basically everyone around me was buying a house, right? My friends, my family. So I'm going, get the house because that's what everyone else is doing. And then I went to sign the papers, and then that gut feeling was just like, bam. And I had no idea where it was coming from. It was so deep. And then I said, look, I'm really sorry. I can't do this. And the house people were really pissed off at me. And I pulled out and I just took time out. And then I then went back to... just like with a feeling, right? If you tap in deep-rooted feeling, I just wanted to retrace my steps. So with that feeling, I ended up going back to Gloucester Children's Hospital, and I walked in, and I remember seeing kids lying in the same bed where I once was, and within 25 years, hadn't changed at all. And I saw these kids, and I just thought, there's got to be more to all this. Like, there has to be more. And I left there, and I had this little seed in my brain that I didn't even know was there. But this guy told me about Joe, right? Now, we like Joe, right, because he's really average, right? Average Joe, right? And I was in the pub, and they said, have you heard about Joe? And I'm like, yeah, I remember Joe, nice guy. He said, he's cycling around the world. I'm like, what? I didn't say the word, but in my head I was like, average Joe, right? And it must have stayed in there like a little seed. Didn't even know at the time. I was just, life moves on. And anyway, then, so instead of buying the house, I ended up buying this bicycle for 50 quid at the newspaper. It was one of the worst bikes ever. I mean, it was terrible, right? It was so bad. And then I picked up the phone to the hospital and I said to the charity, I said, right, I'm going to now fly out to Bangkok and I'm going to cycle back to Gloucester, 14,000 miles, 25 different countries. I've never cycled before, but I'm going to give it a crack. And they're like, you're joking. I'm like, no, hopefully I'll see you in a year's time.
All being well. So I guess this is where kind of, I mean, look, we know you as Jamie McDonald, but also, you know, your alter ego Adventureman, right? So tell us a bit more about that, in the fact that obviously you've gone from here to there, probably covered most areas of the world. What does your, let's call it, alter ego allow you to do that others can't, I suppose?
Do you know what? Honestly, I don't actually see myself as Adventureman. I'm just a normal bloke from Gloucester.
That wears a cape.
Well, that is a bit weird. You're right. You know, but the truth is, yeah, I have done some crazy stuff, and I have done things where people go, I could never do that. And but before I got on that bicycle from Bangkok to Gloucester, I didn't know I had that like, whoa, I'm gonna keep going no matter what. Once you set out to do something, I had no idea that was there, but I managed to put myself in a position where it was either sink or swim. Right, and you either go for it and you go all in, or you just don't. And what I've found over time is I think everyone would have that kind of a adventure spirit in them that could achieve phenomenal things. Right, I mean, you two are doing it day in day out with building the company, right, where it's challenging, but you just relish it and you keep pushing on but people have that, and I can now spot it, but they just don't know. And are they willing to jump into the deep end and try and swim? So I say that because I'm no more special than anyone else. I'm a normal bloke, but I'm very good at keeping going, and I now know that, right? And then now over time, when everyone said, "What do you mean? What are you doing?" I'm one of my best mates, right, Kieran, who taught me tennis. You know, he ended up, he's my best mate. He absolutely went to town on me for starting to do the Bangkok to Gloucester. What are you doing? You're an idiot. You can't do that. Right, my best mate's like, oh, right, that it stung, right.
And did you question yourself at that point?
Of course, right, because I'm the most vulnerable. I'm about to take on something I don't know if I can achieve, and I've got my best mate literally going, "What are you doing, you idiot? That's a terrible idea. You're gonna get yourself killed." And all those things, and he said, you know, just don't do it. And I had to
Bristol to Gloucester, maybe, but
yeah, exactly. But it is going against the grain, isn't it? The whole grain of, like, you know, society says this is what you should do, and I was going against that. So it's very hard at the beginning. It was so hard to get started, but then over time it becomes your identity, right?
Yeah.
And then now it's like people come and go, "What are you doing next? I reckon you can do it." And that's a whole other different pressure then. But
well, it's nice to push yourself as well, right?
What's so when you've done loads of, you know, you've overcome loads of huge challenges. So obviously the illness when you're younger. I think the first one, maybe that cycle. You've done the Canada, the static bike. Most of these things, you had no evidence to suggest that you could actually achieve it. What was self-belief innate in you, or like how did you create the belief that you could actually achieve these things?
God, you two are good in this podcast.
We've done this before, at least twice.
So, yeah, I mean, you've got to be blindly optimistic, where I'm not very good at seeing the steps, right? I'm aware of that now. And it reminds me of while I was in Canada, I think I was probably, 80 marathons in. And this guy starts giving me a man massage, right?
What's a man massage?
Well, not like that. It's like just a massage, right? But just,
From a man.
From a man, exactly. Yeah.
Strong hands.
Strong hands, very strong hands. And he said, "Jamie," he said, "I think I know why you can do what you can do." And I'm 80 marathons in thinking, I don't even know if I could do another 120. And I said, well, please, like, enlighten me. I'm just trying to get through every mile here that I can do. Right? That's all I can do. And he said, well, there are two different types of people. He said, you got the planner and you got the naive. He said, the planner, before a great adventure or whatever big challenge, they'll start to plan, and they'll plan stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when they get to stage 20, it gets a bit, unknown at that point at stage 20. You don't really know how this is all going to go, what you're going to be up against. So the planner sometimes has this tendency to never start the journey in the first place because they get a bit too scared. But the naive person, they don't even think about stage 1, 2, 3, 4, let alone stage 20. I just need to get through this first thing here and worry about stage 20 later on.
When I get there, yeah.
And so then you jump in, right? And you start. Now, it doesn't matter, which one you are, and actually we're very much a blend of each, right? But if you're, if you are a planner, you do need to then take a bit of a pinch of naivety and just go with it, right? Just, have a bit of courage, just go with it. And if you're naive, I really, just to make things a bit easier on yourself, I really suggest on planning a bit more.
So if you're naive and you go in, you think, right, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to run across Canada, right? And if you've not planned it that much, you must get quite quickly to a point where you think, fuck, I'm hitting the limit here. I might be however many marathons you're in. So when you start approaching that limit, what are the techniques you use? Like, what makes you so good at carrying on? Like, what are the things that you do? What tools do you have that help you push through the limits?
I'll give an example. So in Canada, right? So I started off, I was actually on an aeroplane, right? Flying out to Canada. I didn't fly right with my cable. I was on an aeroplane. I was sat next to this woman. She said, so what are you doing in Canada then? I said, well, I'm actually going to try and run across it. And she said, no, you're not. I said, no, I am. And she said, right. Anyway, she was inquisitive. And then she said, right, that's fine. She said, you're staying with me. I was like, you sure? She said, yeah, you're staying with me. And so we landed, her husband arrived, Mark. And she said, right. She said, this boy here, Jamie, he's going to stay with us tonight. And then Mark was like, right, okay, hello there. Went and stayed with them, got a couple of days in. Very nervous, very anxious. I mean, the thought of running 5,000 miles in Canada, I mean, it's, you just don't want to go there, right? So these two really took me under their wing, got me going. Anyway, so I got running, great. And then I had my backpack. Backpack weighed 30 kilograms, I weigh 60, right? Again, right, just half my body weight. So I'm running literally like a penguin. And I haven't, right? This is where it goes crazy. I hadn't even tried the backpack out before the run, right? my visa came in and I had a 1-year visa. So I thought, well, everyone kept coming up to me going, Jamie, do you want to do some training? And I was thinking, wow, I don't really want to add to the 5,000 miles, right?
So you didn't train?
No, so I didn't train whatsoever, but I did come off the Bangkok to Gloucester bike ride. But it turns out cycling and running are very, very different movements, right? They don't complement each other whatsoever. So I get running with this backpack, and I'm running like a penguin. I'm thinking, this is not good. And then I'm carrying water. God, this isn't really good. Anyway, I made it. I was managing to get like 10 miles, which was epic. And I was like broken after 10 miles, climbing into my tent. Anyway, so I make it about 10 days, and then my foot just goes crack. And I can hear, I heard it. It was like, oh. I was like, what was that? So I hobble into this tiny little town. I just hobble, thinking, I just don't know what I'm going to do here. Then this car comes down, and this window comes down. He goes, hey, are you, and this is back in the day when it was called Twitter. He said, are you that guy? And I said, I maybe. He said, are you running across cars? I'm attempting. And he said, well, you are the very first person I have just started following. He said, can I help? I said, actually, my foot's gone. He said, look, come and stay with us. So it turns out he's a marathon runner, like really good marathon runner, with his wife, Lynn. And he said, look, we've got a friend, he's a doctor, he'll do a bone scan for you. I'm like, right, great. So then I get this bone scan, and I remember looking at the bone scan, it shows up with this massive black spot, right? And bear in mind, 2 weeks before, I told everyone, I'm going to run across Canada. I was even on the news. I was like telling everyone I'm going to do it. And I'm 2 weeks in looking at the bone scan going, my foot is broke. This is the end. And the doctor looks at me, he looks at the bone scan. He goes, Jamie, this is brilliant news. It's just ligament damage, right? And I thought, what? I thought, well, that is great news, obviously, right? Because I've only got 190 more marathons to go, right? So it's like, what do you do, right? So then in this moment, I'm on my own. Back to your question where you're saying, what are the tools, right? What are the true tools? And the truth is, when you're on your own, you're just not very strong, right? You don't think that well. And maybe I'm talking for you personally, but from my experience, I'm very good at keeping going. But I need people around me to help build anything or create anything or achieve anything. And I didn't realize at this point, right, that like this couple were going to be a powerhouse couple, and to get me through. And anyway, so I said, right, the backpack's not working. So the guy said, we need to change this backpack. And I'm a bit like a farmer, right? I don't want to change it. I can still run. I want to push on, right? But then you get these people that come around that have a different perspective. And he said, have you ever seen those American women running down a beach with their babies in a stroller?
In like the trike things.
Yeah, exactly. In the like pram strollers. And I said, yeah. And he goes, I've just ordered you one. And so that landed 48 hours later. And I stuck everything in the pram, and then I managed to get going, right? And if I didn't come across that couple, I wouldn't have thought of the pram. I wouldn't have been able to get through it. I wouldn't have had a doctor to look at a bone scan. So I'm very good at you just got to keep going.
Just go with it.
Exactly, right, exactly. And then something will come up that is needed in that moment once you take on something. But you have to take on something big. If it's not big, it doesn't create an energy to make it work. It's like then you're just existing, right?
So from a, I suppose, mental perspective, what are the tools you use, like visualization or self-belief? And I suppose, coming back to, when you're getting to that kind of breaking point of these things, how do you overcome it? Is it a I must not fail type scenario, or is it a I'm going to win?
I don't think there's one single answer. And I think there is allowed to be multiple motivations to be able to get you through. And so that might be people, that might be the win. So in my instance, as I ran, every time I had a dark moment, I remember I haven't shared this before, but I didn't have much money, right? I had a businessman that promised me $5,000 because I didn't have enough money to get me through Canada. I had money left over from the house that I didn't buy. But this business guy, he said, I'll give you the money. And then I was about 4 months in, and I went, where's this money? And I'm burning money, right? I'm going, I don't even have money to get me across here. Anyway, he goes cold on me, just goes absolutely cold. And it drove me, I can't tell you how much it hurt, right? Because I feel like I'm a man of my word, and my dad's always taught me, when you say you're going to do something, you do it. You just do it, right? And if you can't, and you just say it, you've got to be honest. But when you say you're going to do something, so it broke me in values, right? And I was having such a dark day, and I thought, how do I get through this? Anyway, there was a family that I stayed with the night before that said, hey, your trainers are looking terrible. 4 months in, I don't know how many marathons.
We'll leave them on the doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, you need a new pair of trainers. I said, I don't need a new pair of trainers. These are fine. Like, back to the farmer. I said, just make a donation to the children's hospital. I'm all good. Anyway, they obviously looked in to see my shoe size. So the following day, they drove out, and then they turned up with these new pairs of shoes and said, hey, whack these on your shoes. And from that day on, they started to send a message to everyone ahead that basically I needed a new pair of shoes. They were good runners as well, so they said I need a new pair of shoes every month. And from that day, somebody just turned up, knew my shoe size, and said, "Here, stick these."
So you had like a
onto your feet."
receiving party, which must be nice as well, just to sort of welcome you in and give you that pat on the back that you may not need, but it's a, you know, everyone needs a pat on the back, right? And when you're
Yeah.
doing something like that, that is so grueling and, you know, body beating, you know, it's a different mindset, surely.
Yes. Yeah.
What did you learn about people? You mentioned there about the businessman. He's frustrated you there with his lack of integrity,
I
effectively.
mean, we have millions of viewers here. Do we need to name and shame?
Yeah.
Or send the boys round, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what did you learn? You know, all the things you've done a lot of things where you relied on other people throughout the journey. Like, how's that changed your opinions on, you know, people and what's important?
So straight away, do you know what what I'm thinking of is the most gratitude that I ever felt as an experience. I was cycling through Tajikistan. You ever heard of Tajikistan?
Yes.
Okay.
I've not been there though.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, right? Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. Anyway, so I come up to this border and I was hoping, you know, there was going to be some food at this border. And there wasn't. There was absolutely nothing, just a couple of border guards. Oh, that ain't good. And I'm looking at the map and there's 3 days of nothing. Or I can go 2 days back where I know there's food. I say, right, you've got to crack on, got to go forward. So I push on forwards. And then I start starving, and on day 3, I'm starting to panic. And I see this house, so I knock on the door, and this woman answers, and she looks at my face, and it's like she just knew exactly what I wanted. She couldn't speak a word of English. So she invites me in, and then she gives me bread and yogurt, and I stuff my face with bread and yogurt after 3 days of peddling. And then the next meal came around. And
Bless you.
That was the most silent sneeze
Yeah, you
I've
did really
ever
well.
seen in my
I
life.
know, but I was like
James.
thinking I can't do my normal sneeze because this will change everything, and then we'll have to have a
You
whole
did so
conversation
well.
about me sneezing.
Yeah, you did so well. They won't even have to edit it out.
Honestly, that is serious skills. I hope you're passing that down to your children.
Oh yes, they learn a lot from me, from sneezing all the way down.
That's what the people tuned in for to learn, not to hear about Jamie's trip through Tajikistan.
The
They want to
skill
know
of
how you
sneezing.
managed to sneeze so quietly with a microphone an inch from your face.
Well, this is the thing. You know, when you're a professional podcaster, you know, all
Yeah.
3 or 4 in
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
you learn these sort of. I mean, you're a superhero. You know, these are my superpowers.
He's been
Look.
farting silently as well over there as well without any of us knowing. Equally important. Anyway, Tajikistan.
Anyway, back in Afghanistan.
Yeah, Tajikistan.
Sorry.
Tajikistan.
Yeah.
So this woman, so she sees my face. She invites me in, stuffs me full of bread and yogurt. The next meal that comes around, guess what it was?
Bread and yogurt?
Bread and yogurt.
Yeah.
Right? Guess what was for dinner?
Roast
Yogurt
dinner?
and bread.
Yeah, bread and yogurt. So then I ended up eating bread and yogurt for a couple of days with this family. The children were there. They literally had nothing. I'm talking 4 bare walls and just a roll-up mat where they sleep. Nothing. And they're in the boony land of nothing. And I was looking at these children. They were laughing. They were having fun. I'm not saying they were less happy or more happier than us, but honestly, it was a very life-changing experience to be in a house and to be in an environment where this family had nothing, and that's what it's bread and yogurt. So I thought, right, I've got to leave. So I go to leave, and I didn't want to ask anything from the family, right? They don't have anything, and I'm looking at the map. There's another 2 days of nothing, but I thought I can do 2 days of no food. So I get on the bike, and that's when the dad, he come running out, and he handed me water. So I said, listen, I really appreciate that. Thank you. So I put that on my bike. And then the mum, she come running out and she gave me this loaf of bread. And honestly, it was like she was taking the shirt off her back and she was giving me her world.
Mm.
And I said, Dane, so I got on the bike and I started to pedal. And do you know what it reminded me of, right? I was pretty vile to my mum, right? In my teenage years, where my mum would serve me up Christmas dinner with gravy, roast potatoes, And I used to go at her, do not put Brussels sprouts on my plate. Right? And I've just spent 3 days with a family that eat bread and yogurt. I mean,
Mind blowing.
So you, hearing that story, I was thinking about goals. You mentioned about setting massive goals and throwing yourself into it. And that has kind of given you a purpose. I wondered where, one thing that's quite unique about your purpose and what makes you quite special and different. We live in a very, Western society. We live in quite a materialistic world. We're all like, trying to get the next thing, earn more money, buy the next thing, buy the house, as you mentioned. What's it? Your purpose for a long time has been to do things for others, to create money to help other people. Can you just talk about what it's given you in your life to have a purpose which is outside of yourself?
So I have. I'm all in on this, and I'm kind of very lucky again that after Canada, I then started to be asked to give talks in corporates, and you've obviously booked me a few times, at your events. So I'm very lucky in that I've got a good business where I speak for a living, which means. And I also have 3 kids now, right? And I actually did get the house, right? Eventually got the house just before my daughter was born. I was like, oh, need a house.
Yeah.
And but we're actually now in the process of selling it, the dream house, and we are going back to being nomadic full time. And so I'm doing that because of a society where you're right. It's very difficult to get the children off the screens and it's like more toys, and I'm back to that family in Tajikistan. I'm looking at them going, I don't know if you're more or less happier, but there's something magical going on here. So I think we do want to kind of strip ourselves back. But yes, I'm going all in on giving back for the rest of my life. And what I would like to share, so 6 years ago I mentioned that I went into therapy, and it was because my parents split up. Right? And as an adult, you go, well, I'm an adult, right? And I couldn't shake the emotion off it. I just couldn't do it, right? And so I went up to my really wise Buddha friend, Mario Peters. He owns schools all over the world, right? And I said, Mario, I can't shake this emotion. He said, just call this number. So I call this number, and then I end up going over to Stroud, from Gloucester to Stroud. Now, I don't know if you've heard about Stroud, but they're all a bit strange, right? So I go over this hill.
Is this in Gloucester? No, in Gloucestershire.
Yeah, in Gloucestershire.
Is this where they throw the wheels of cheese down the hill and jump after them?
This is exactly where they throw cheese down a hill. It's like a cliff, and then everyone runs down it, breaks their arms and legs. I mean, Gloucester's a bit of a strange spot as well, right? So I go over to Stroud, and I go into this back garden, and then this guy's there, and he's got slippers on, and he welcomes me into his little hut, and he said, I'm a psychotherapist. And I'm thinking, I've got no idea what that is. But look, Mario told me I can talk to you about my parents splitting up. And so I start talking, and then he says, do you want to talk about being sick as a kid? And I said, no. This is at the point where I said, I had a great time in hospital, right? And anyway, by the end of the session, he says, do you feel abandoned? And like a meerkat where your ears go up, and you go, oh, sorry, why are you asking me that question? But they're very strict on time. So once it's the end of the session, not a minute over, so I leave. Anyway, so that night, I start visualizing myself back in the hospital. I'm going, oh, this is weird. I don't want to go there. In the morning, I start making myself a cup of coffee. I'm on my own. And out of nowhere, it's like a freight train, I get this massive visualization, and I hit the deck, and I can see myself as a baby back in a children's hospital, and I'm crying my heart out, and I spend about 15 minutes just flashing through all the memories of my experience in hospital. And the whole time I'm looking down on myself, and I'm saying, hey, you don't need to worry anymore. Anyway, I come out of it. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I go back to see this guy, right? John Seeks is his name, right? But obviously it's spelled S-E-E-X. I'm dyslexic, right? So I'm reading his name thinking I'm off to see this guy, right? Anyway, so I go in to see John. And I said, what the hell happened? And he said, I'd like to welcome you to childhood trauma. And then we go on this beautiful journey where suddenly the reality of my childhood wasn't quite true. And I now know, right, being through this journey, is that we all do it. We all put these storylines through our childhood when I say we're living out day to day in choosing to do something and choose to not, we're actually living out the whole time our childhood. We're not consciously aware of it. And so anyway, so we get to the beautiful journey, and naturally I then picked up the phone to hospitals. I've got good connections, and I said, are kids still being left? And they said, yeah, probably about 10%, so 1 in 10. And so now I've got a charity called Ward Buddies. We've recently launched. We've got a doctor, a psychologist, a support worker at Birmingham Children's Hospital. We've got 25 volunteers. And what we're doing is the nurses in admission stage, when the child comes, they say, can you stay with your child, or do you have work, do you have other siblings, do you have to go? And if there's a time where they go, no, I have to leave my childhood or child here, that is true, right? They've got no choice. Then the nurse will send a bat signal to our Ward Buddies team. We will swoop in and we will make sure that we emotionally connect with the child so they're not feeling left.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
So thinking about that, obviously you spent a lot of time with fear as a child. How do you think that has changed? I mean, look, one of our titles is sort of redefine risk. You know, you take risky bets all the time, but yet you don't seem to feel fearful about it. You know, when we have our conversations and just chatting today, you know, how has that impacted your attitude to risk itself?
Risk is a really interesting one. So last night, right, I ended up staying in a hotel. So you probably don't know this, but you're expensing a hotel just around the corner.
Good one.
Was it a risky one?
Yeah. Right. Well, it's got a gym, right? Because I'm now doing monster challenges for Ward Buddies to get the donations in. So it had to have a gym, right? But it's pretty cheap, but like not looks nice, right? Pictures look good. Anyway, so I go into the room and I lie down, and then I see this mosquito in the air, and I'm going, that's not a mosquito. Anyway, I'll give it a quick splat, right? Just natural instinct. And but I'm like, we don't have mosquitoes in England, right? I've been in jungles.
Well, not this time of year.
Right, yeah. I've been in jungles. I've been eaten alive. Anyway, I'm going things. So I lie back, turn the lights out, and then bam, get bit. Then I get bit again. And I couldn't even put the quilt over me, right? Because it was so hot in the room. So I'm now raging, right? I'm like, oh, the mosquitoes. And I turn the aircon like as low as I can. So then once it drops, I can curl up in a quilt and they can't get me, right? But it just wouldn't go cold enough. So I'm like sticking it out. I'm like, come on. But I'm fearful, right? I don't know what it is. I hate mosquitoes.
So do I. It's the buzz, the buzz and the bite.
Yeah, the buzz in the ear. It's like, oh God, it just gets me. And so I'm really frustrated. Anyway, I cracked 2 a.m. couldn't sleep, and then I called the reception. I said, "Get me out of this room." I said, "I don't know what's going on here. I didn't even know mosquitoes
I'm Adventureman.
exist.
Get me out of here."
I can't believe I'm sharing this. Right, this is bad. All right, I promise I'm pretty good at resilience. But they put me in another room. But the darkness, right, is there. But something will good come out of it, right? They've already said to me, come back. They said, we'll give you 50% off the thing. I said, that's not good enough. I said, my clients are very important people, right? You too, right? So I said, they'll be expecting 100% off. And she said, sorry, so that's higher management, actually. And I said, okay, that's okay. Can you just tell higher management I'll be sharing this on social media to my 100,000 followers? And she looked and she went, yes, okay, I will do that. Please do come back after the podcast interview. I said, I will do. So I'm going to make sure you get freebie, okay, for this.
Oh, bless you.
But through the night I felt fear. And so I'm saying that because I don't like mosquitoes. I feel everything everyone else feels. And so the important part is with this, it's okay to feel it, but then it's what you do after it. Right. And so then it's about, okay, is this really bad? You know, there's always light, and it's a bit like getting the freebie hotel now. I kind of aware, as I'm getting frustrated, I'm going, something great's going to come out of this, right? It's all good, right? So once you start to change that mindset on things, The risk factor then just kind of starts to calm down. And when you feel fear, you just push through the fear, you come out the other side. And then it's a bit of practice, right?
Set another goal.
Do you know, exactly. You set another goal and you just keep adapting. Now, the fascinating thing is when I run across a country or continent, I genuinely, I feel like the strongest person in the whole wide world mentally and from a mindset perspective. But it is incredible how quickly you can lose that. So once I then start getting comfort and get a nice hotel without mosquitoes and you then go a bit soft. I'm going to be honest, you go soft. And so you have to keep training and being uncomfortable.
It's all of the man massages, isn't it? That's what it is.
The man massages are uncomfortable, I'm going to say that. So that's all part of the training. But does that help?
Yeah. Just quickly on that. So you genuinely had quite a lot to fear when you were a child. When someone says to you, you might not walk again, which I think was potentially said to you. And then all the things you've done, I read some of your book, really enjoying it by the way, but situation in Afghanistan, extremely frightening, I imagine. But you've confronted fear a lot. You mentioned how the only limit is our brain. And the things you're doing now, you're talking about going nomadic. For a lot of people, that's extremely fearful as well. Taking your kids into a nomadic situation could be quite fearful. What would you say to people? You're obviously not driven by fear, but what would you say to people where fear plays a big part in their decision making and limits them through their life?
Fear is a really interesting one because you either run from it, fight or flight, or you lean into it. And I don't mean become really, really unsafe, But the other day, my kid ended up climbing up to the top window of the bedroom thing, and I'm in the garden, and he's 2 years old. Window open. Hi, Dad. Right. And, right.
Catch.
Yeah. So in that moment, right, what I don't want to do is show him fear because he's not fearful. He is having a jolly up there, right? And the reality is, he gonna fall? Babies are pretty good actually at understanding where the fear barriers is.
And or bouncing.
Yeah, he does have quite a cushy, bouncy head, so he would have been fine.
He would have been fine.
So it's trying not to instill that fear from him. So I was like, oh, hey, Rocky, okay, yeah, just stay put and I'll see you in a second, right? Because naturally then if I go, oh, and once you get culturally, once you start to feel that from people all around you, that really does.
You can feel it. It's an inner thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is. And actually the worst type of fear that people can give is when they're not saying it, they're just feeling it. So you say, I've got this great idea, I think, it's a bit of a risk. And they go, oh, great. So you have to then push through fear barriers that people are trying to pass on to you. Not intentionally, right? It's just, that's their story, that's their feeling. But you've again, pushing into the uncomfortable zone, I would say that is fear as well, right? An uncomfortable zone is fear, and you just have to keep pushing through it. But it's practice. I'm not saying it's going to go, you do it once, hey, it's like you got to keep doing it all the time.
Well, with that in mind, let's move on to pain. Most people don't like pain. They don't enjoy it. They stay away from it. But you seem to sort of want it, enjoy it, and want more of it. What advice could you give to parents, managers, entrepreneurs that end up having this pain, and what can you teach us from your approach to pain?
The discomfort, again, going back to the curry, right? The pain on the tongue. It's just so painful. The pain was unbelievable. But then I was skipping out of that restaurant, right, eventually. And if you think about, I can't believe I'm going to say this, or I'm going to say it though, right, because I did witness it, right? I haven't felt it, but if you think about birth, right, I witnessed my partner Anna, one of the most magical experiences. We had our first daughter in our house, and watching it, I mean, the pain, right? Have you ever seen it? Have you two seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. But then this magical, uplifting experience towards the end is magical, and it's primal, right? This like feeling pain is absolutely primal. And if you even think about when we birth, I mean, coming out, right? It's like that is a painful experience in itself. Just our first thing that happens as we enter the world. So I think it's absolutely primal. And I think as time goes on, all we're doing is completely just moving away from it. And everything is just trying to make us feel comfortable. So we don't have to walk down the road. We just use Amazon now, right? And so you've got to combat that. And I would say naturally when we had kids, that bunkered us down. We got a house and we've started to become functional, right? Hey, you drop the kids there, but it's like you live in this comfortable space. And I'm a victim of it, right? I'm telling you, I've been there in the last few years. And then we took our kids to Cape Verde and had this like bit of a rich, dirty, we didn't shower for like a week or something experience, and it was magical. And we left there and we went, that's what we're missing. We've got too comfortable, right?
Normal.
Yeah, too normal. We need to get uncomfortable. We need to search for pain.
Yeah.
You've got to search for it. And that is the magical space. That's where you're most rewarded. That's where you feel gratitude. It's like if you don't feel pain, then you don't feel the good stuff afterwards. And then you're just existing, and you do not want to float through life and exist, because that is the worst space to ever be in.
You mentioned at the start around naivety and planning. Has the naivety element helped you get through that pain? Like if you thought to some of the worst pain you've experienced, I'd love you to tell us about it. But had you known what it would be like, do you think it might have stopped you from doing it?
Yeah, you don't want to know about stage 20. You're right. Because stage 20 is where the true pain starts to kick in, right? So
give me an example. When did you reach this? When did you reach level 20?
Okay, right. Let's reach my worst ever stage 20. I've had a fair few, mind you, right? But one of the most challenging experiences I ever had was attempting the 7-day Guinness World Record by covering the most amount of miles on a treadmill, aka treadmill, right? So it had to be above over 20 marathons in 7 days. So I was sleeping, doing like a 1.5 hour sleep every night, and then I was running, walking, crawling the rest. And so I made it to about 3-4 days, and my ankles showed up like elephants. I mean, I was in a world of pain, and I thought there was absolutely no way I'm going to make it. And then my wife's parents, ex-Olympic rowers, they turned up and realised what an absolute shit show that I'd created as an event, right? Didn't think about nutrition that well, didn't think about anything, but, good at just getting going. Anyway, so they stayed, right? And then Ian, he's very good. He's a very good businessman, right? So he thinks in margins. So he's going, right, hang on. And I'm behind record at this point. So he says, right, Jamie. He said, to slipstream this process, he said, you're no longer going to go from the treadmill to the toilet. You are now going to pee on the treadmill, right? Because that's wasted time. I'm going, Ian, it's like YouTube Live, right? He said, don't worry about that. We'll cover you. Anyway, so okay, cool. So I'm in an absolute world of pain, and I'm craving. I'm like craving to go to the toilet, right? I'm craving a break, right? Is what I'm craving. I'm like, I enjoyed doing a wee because it was just the one time where I could just be still and just feel like everything goes Anyway, so he gets a cape. He gives it to Sue, right? This is my mother and father-in-law, by the way, as well. And I've always felt like Ian, right? He's not really quite. He doesn't really like me, right? Anyway, he gets the cape. Sue's holding the cape, and then he gets the bottle. So then we turn off the treadmill. Now, have you ever stopped the treadmill, and you feel that kind of slight motion?
Yeah.
Right. So imagine after like 300 miles of running, right? That motion is unbelievable. It's just like. Now, these two, what they've done is they were there. So nutrition, Sue sorted out the nutrition. He sorted out militant sides. But one night, so then, that night, right, as he gets me through, I start to literally just, I felt like death. All I can experience is like death. I thought, I'm not going to make it through. But he was like a sergeant major. He said, you're going to stay on that treadmill. And I said, I can't take this anymore. And he said, you're going to keep going all the way through the night. Go, go, go. Out of nowhere, the most craziest thing happened, right? And again, this links back to pain and then where it ends up going. So I start to see colours. Everything was fluorescent. I'm like, what is this, right? And then I get this shot of adrenaline in my brain and I start running, right? And I'm like running the strongest I have ever ran in my entire life. I'm 400 miles in and I am now running like a gazelle. What? Like, what? Right? So I'm 400 miles in and I'm going, this is crazy. So I say to the support team, she's like, should I ease back and try and reserve some energy here? They're like, just roll with it. Anyway, so I run all the way through the night. But then I started to kind of go a bit dark again and I blacked out. I opened up my eyes and the physio's there. I didn't know where I was. And I was like, hi, Sylvia, like, what's going on? And she's like, you're doing the Guinness World Record. It's the final day. You just have to get back on the treadmill. And I'm like, okay. So I got back onto the treadmill, still seeing colours. And then I managed to kind of power on through. But what's crazy is, so after the Guinness World Record, I got then rushed into hospital. And then basically they'd done some blood tests. I couldn't breathe and I was anemic. I'd lost half of my red blood cells.
Wow.
So I managed to run them out. So the doctor's looking at me and she said, this is so crazy because in my younger days, we ran this study for people in like prisoner of war camps where they would starve for months on end. And when I told her about all these amazing colours and this experience of me running like a gazelle, she said, that's so fascinating because these people shared the same experiences. And she said, it's when they got really close to death that then the body starts shooting off endorphins and all this good stuff to keep you going so you will survive.
Wow. Incredible. So thinking about things that just keep you going and keep you focused, what's probably the most, what's the thing that you remember from your travels, bearing in mind you've been everywhere, that sort of kept you going when it got quite bad?
One of the most challenging moments was hitting the Rocky Mountains, and I started to get messages from everyone. Again, back to fear, right? So everyone then shares the fear. Do not cross the Rocky Mountains, and it was flooding in like no tomorrow. Police rangers, everyone, and then I received one message that completely changed everything, right? Because that person was the only one that was saying something different, and I've actually got the letter here that was sent to me.
It looks like you've had it a while as well.
I have had it a while. Yeah. It read, "Hey Jamie, as you head into what might be the hardest and most dangerous part of your journey, I thought it might inspire you to be reminded what you are running for. You might recall Samuel in an orange sweatshirt that you met in the city of Thunder Bay. Well, Samuel's cancer has returned and he is out of treatment options. For now, we're enjoying every day and he is living a full, joyful life as best he can. It is devastating for us, obviously, but it's also motivating to make sure that you know that what you are doing is going to change the outcome for kids like him in the future. As a normal mum, I have to say first, be careful, Jamie. But of a mum of a child facing the end of his beautiful life, I say, keep going, Jamie." I think once you start a journey that is bigger than yourself, it then starts to create a momentum that you just don't even see coming, right? So we're on now stage 50, 100, whatever that is. And once you start to create an identity around yourself and and giving back and doing something more than you could ever dream of. That's where the magical spot is, and the more time you spend there, that's where it is.
Incredible.
How do you hope that people like that little boy and the mum, but how do you hope that people will remember you? What will your legacy be?
It's a good question. I don't think I really believe in legacy anymore. I just think we're alive right here, right now, and then you're dead.
I was
live for
really
the
expecting
moment.
so profound then.
Yeah.
You're here, and then
You're here, then you're not.
You know, I would like ward buddies to make sure that will be global by the time I'm dead, and lots of kids will be emotionally connected and not feeling abandoned. And so that in itself, but me personally, you're just dead.
It's so weird, actually, Jeremy. You're talking about the ward buddy thing, because actually I've spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals as a child because I suffer from convulsions, so very similar to epileptic fits and what have you, where body temperature, and I never ever thought about what you kind of go through doing those things. But I just remember the good bits, like for instance, because it seemed like on holiday, for instance, once I was in hospital when it was my sister's birthday, and I got more presents than her because I was in a ward and she was obviously trying to have a birthday party and what have you. But it is interesting to think about some of the things that I can start to sort of relate and perhaps map out about the abandonment things as well, which is quite eye-opening.
You want to be careful. You've got his brain working now. You're going to have a new business plan.
You really have.
Well, look,
yeah.
You know, and see, this is the fascinating thing, is that you could have a driving force there, which you have, right, to be in your position, that you're using it for good and you don't even realize, right? Maybe, yeah. The other thing I would say, so I've done some magical things. So epileptic fits was the thing that I didn't felt like I quite got to in the therapy. And so somebody recommended EMDR. It's something like eye movement, rapid desensitization. So the eyes move, but you can do it as headphones. And I managed to go back in time, and basically the person that discovered it was this doctor who was lying in the back of a forest, and this swinging tree was going backwards and forwards, and then she accessed memories from childhood that she didn't know was there. She's like, what is this thing? And then she created this EMDR. And so I managed to go back and then relive epileptic fits that I would have. So it's like you have these experiences that actually they are there, they're in your system fully, but you shut them off.
Yeah.
And so if you can unlock and open those things up, I mean, it's a great space to be. So I'll take you to my EMDR therapist, no problemo. We'll have you blubbering like no tomorrow.
So with everyone that we invite on this show, we like to ask a few questions, bearing in mind it's called Virtual Lunch. Firstly, anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would you take, or who would you like to take for lunch, and where would you go?
Oh, good question. I would like to take Scott Harrison. I'm currently reading his book. It's called Charity Water, and he has built a charity to help in these poor countries to help build wells. And he's built a system of 100% of people's donations go towards the charity directly to the wells. And I'm currently now doing 100% of the donations goes directly to helping the kids in the hospital. And so if I could pick his brain, like, how does this work? How do you do it? Because I'm in that, like, you know, that growth stage of working it out. So I would take him. That would definitely be on my radar.
And what food would you go for? What restaurant would you pick, and what food would you choose?
I would pick a jalfrezi,
Your new favourite.
just to seek out the pain with extra green chilies. Yeah, and to sweat more and to go through that whole journey. Yeah.
And a kingfisher.
And a kingfisher.
I wanted to ask you about goal setting. So you've obviously set massive goals in your life. In business, corporate world, goal setting is something that people do largely as a box ticking exercise. Once a year, set some goals for the year, do it, put it in a little system. In a year's time, you sit down with your manager, tick them off, and hopefully everyone gets a bonus. I do feel like this process is engaged with only, at a very much a minimum level. Like, can you just talk about what goal setting is to you and how valuable it's been in sort of achieving what you have?
Does it work for you, Ian? Are you setting the goals?
No, so everyone, all the managers, they set the goals, and
right,
then
okay, so it's like everyone's got micro goals, and then you got the major goals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should all roll up to the strategy. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that I think everyone needs to have strong goals in their life, right? Not just through work. And I just wanted to understand how valuable it was to you, goal setting.
Yeah, the goal's got to be set, and that has to be the end goal. Without that, there's no driving force. So it's got to be there.
Yeah,
it's just got to be there. So Canada was my first major goal. I felt like Canada was stretching me like beyond belief, because I'd never really ran before. So I had the goal, and the fascinating thing with the goal, I got caught out on the goal, right, is I made it. Magical moment. My dad was there, felt tearful. And the moment it was all over, I then just felt really sad. Right?
When you completed it?
Yeah, when I completed it. So I went up to see my mate again, Mario Peters, and I said, Mario, I feel really sad. Like, I thought I'd be in a rocking chair with my pipe here. Being like, oh, I just ran across Canada. I can kind of feel really fulfilled for the rest of my life. And he said, you know what, Jamie? He said, I can see what you mean by that, and you were striving for your goal. And he says, it's a bit like there's cake on the table, and I had like a muffin there, and then he went smash right on top of the muffin. I was like, sorry, man, I was going to eat that. And he said, we're all chasing the big cake, right? He said, and he said it's important to have that, but he said the journey, it's all made up of crumbs. It's all about the crumbs. It's not chasing the cake, it's just the crumbs.
One by one.
You've given us some amazing insights about, goals, pain, and incredible to spend time with you again. I mean, we love, spending time with you. We love you representing us, being our ambassador and what have you. So I can only thank you again for being on here today. I think everyone's going to learn a lot from this, and certainly I've got some personal things. I'll look at it myself, so thank you.
Good luck in your next adventures.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate it, James. Thank you. No, this was good fun. You two, I tell you what, I like Stephen Bartlett. He needs to watch out.
We're coming for him. Stephen, if you're out there, watch yourself.
You're next.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's episode of Virtual Lunch.
Subscribe now so you don't miss an episode.
We'll be back next week. Same time, same table. See you then.